Are we on the air?
Yes.
Oh, hi, folks. My name's Jerry Gagne, my daughter Gina Whaley. This is Foys on Facebook, our 4th edition. And don't look for a lot of professionalism, because we're not professionals. But Veronica, who runs all of this stuff, says we can't do this and we can't do that because it has to be more professional. So, welcome to the show. And of course, if you have questions, you can email them, and we'll answer them on the air as we go through the show. Show will last just about an hour. So first I wanted to talk about, we got an email a day or so ago from someone who said the sex indicator that you sell doesn't work. And to be perfectly frank, I don't understand why it works. We sell an awful lot of them. I have people who swear by them. I've tried it, and be darned if the darn thing doesn't seem to work. I just don't understand how. So what I've got in my hand, I'm going to demonstrate the sex indicator. This is a Russian tumbler, and we're going to be talking about the breed in a little while. But this is what the sex indicator looks like. And it comes with a whole set of directions that explain it in more depth than I will today. But I know that basically it says you're going to put it over the bird's head. It says put it against your chest and put it over the bird's head. It says don't worry about starting it from dead stop. Just they said if it's moving a little bit, that's fine. So I happen to know what sex this bird is, and we tried it before we did the show, and darn if it didn't work. We're going to show you. It's so simple. You hold it about 1 inch off the bird's head. All right, that makes it simple. All right, so let's just watch it. And the directions say let it move around for around 23 times, back and forth, or circle. That doesn't really matter. Just I'm not sure why, but that's what it says. So let's assume we've done 23 times. I'm not doing anything to control it. Whoops, one of my birds wanted to come out. Other than just trying to hold it still. All right. So let's assume it's starting. You can see what the thing is doing. Gina, what's it doing?
Back and forth.
Back and forth. If you read the directions, just amazes me. If you read the directions, if it goes back and forth, it's a male. If it goes in a circle, it's a female. I know for a fact this is a male. And when I tested it earlier and just now, did the same thing, back and forth. It's a male. So what I did was got another bird. This one, I wasn't 100% sure. This is a white racing homer. Here again, we're going to be talking about them in the latter part of the show. So let's see what happens. Once again, pick it up. It's spinning now, so I'm just waiting for it to settle down. And I'm not doing a darn thing to it. No, I'm waiting. When we did this before, it took a while for it. But see, I didn't speed it up, but for some reason it's speeding. Oh, we're speeding up all by itself. I just laughed. How in the heck does that work? What's it doing, Gina?
Circle.
No, circle. Now, when I was in loft earlier, we're going to talk about white birds, or white racing homers, so I just brought this bird, and I looked at it, and I thought it was a female, but I wasn't 100% sure, so I grabbed it and brought it in, not thinking about doing this test with a sex indicator, but it worked. So 2 out of 2. The company or people who made it originally, we make these ourselves now, the people who made it originally swore it worked 100% of the time. So Foys does sell the sex indicator, comes with all the directions. If you need one, you can certainly call Foys, 724-843-6889. Okay, so we got the sex indicator out of the way, and we're going to talk about this is how I do the show, just so you know, it's not terribly professional. Next, we got another email this week before the show, and if you want to email at any time of the week, you can do it, and we save it for the show. So the next we want to talk about is a question about the depluming mite. The gentleman who emailed it, did he sign it by chance? Oh, it doesn't matter. The person who sent it in wanted me to discuss the depluming mite. And the depluming mite is something that we get a lot of questions on. It's not terribly common, but I think when people have the problem, they get so upset or discouraged because they can't seem to figure out what the heck is going on. So Gina's going to discuss it a little bit, and we're doing this, and Gina is getting better because she's a little bit more nervous, and I'm just a ham at heart, so I just enjoy doing this. But I'm trying to emphasize to the folks that we have 7 employees here at Foys, and the folks that answer the phone know what they're talking about. Every one of the girls has been with us anywhere from 18, how long have you been with us?
8.5 years.
8.5 years. One girl's been with us for 12, going on 13 years. Another young lady, my granddaughter, joined us just about a year ago. But other than Sam, my granddaughter, these girls know what they're talking about, and it's kind of an odd situation. We're the only all-woman company now. I've retired from Foys, so everybody that works for us is a lady. And a lot of times you gentlemen are sexist, and you want to listen to the girls tell you what's wrong with your birds. But I'm proud to say I trained them, and they also trained themselves. Like anything else, one question you hear all the time. If you hear it enough, you finally understand and know what the answer is. And the girls have also talked to veterinarians on a semi-regular basis. So going back to that, the girls know what they're talking about. Gina's going to talk a little bit about the depluming mite.
The depluming mite is it's on the chest, under the skin. A lot of people call in and have questions about their pigeons, or their chest is bare, they don't have no feathers, they're wondering why.
The first one I ask is, do your feeders or your drinkers, do they have any sharp edges? And if they have sharp edges, there's always the possibility that they're continually eating or drinking on and rubbing their breast against the sharp area will shave the feathers off. I liken it to, if you haven't shaven in a couple of days, you're going to have a stubble. That's what you're going to see. It's a bare patch, but if you run your fingers across it, it kind of feels like a stubble. But that's not the main reason. I would venture to say 90% of the time it's not that, but it's the first thing we ask. So once we've assumed, or once we've found out that it's not a sharp edge, then it has to be a depluming mite. Gina, what does the depluming mite, where does it live? I think you mentioned that.
It lives under the skin.
And there is a treatment.
Yes.
And the treatment is?
Ecto-endo drops or scat.
Okay. Ecto-endo. This is what ecto-endo looks like. What you do is you just screw the lid off. It's a dropper. This bare skin. I use it without any gloves, but if you want to wear gloves, makes sense. All you're going to do is put a few drops here and rub it on the bare spot. You might have to do 2 or 3 times. The reason this works, and we'll talk about the scat, that's the scat, but it sinks into the skin. If you're going to spray the product, that's what it looks like. If you're going to spray the product, it doesn't sink in. If it doesn't sink in and go beneath the skin, it's not going to kill that mite. So we have ecto-endo and we have scat, S-C-A-T-T. Basically similar products. This one is made in Australia? Mm-hmm. Okay, that's made in Australia. This one is formulated in South Africa. So those are 2 products. So if you have that bare skin, products you want to use, scat, ecto-endo. If I had my choice, it'd be ecto-endo. So that tells you a little bit about a depluming mite. If you have a question, or if I haven't explained it in depth, or haven't made myself clear, or Gina, just email us, and we'll talk a little bit more about it if you have more questions.
I have a question about the depluming mite. Can it go from one bird to the other?
Oh, good question. The fact that it can, if you see one, you probably see another, but it does take time. It isn't something where you have one with a depluming white bare skin, and tomorrow you notice another one, the next day you notice another one. You may not see another one for a month. So it's very, very slow, but it can move from bird to bird. Good question. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Gina's going to talk a little bit about a good friend of ours, David Malone, and she's going to share something with you, and you may want to go to Facebook and look at it.
They did a documentary on Dave, who is a very good friend of ours. Dave is from Brooklyn, New York, and he's been flying pigeons for 40 years. It's his passion to fly pigeons and to work with pigeons. He has, it's kept him off the streets, out of drugs and alcohol. He's always up on his rooftop. If he's not at work, you can always find him up on his roof because that's what he loves to do. But you can go on Facebook, and a lot of us have shared the video, and we'll have it on Foys' website as well, if you want to go and look at it.
I watched it this morning, and it's kind of interesting. He made a very strong point that where he lives, in Brooklyn, is a drug, alcohol, gunshots all around him all the time. But he said, basically, thank God I found pigeons. The first time I saw them, sort of like the first time I saw my wife. He fell in love with the pigeons, I fell in love with my wife. But he said it kept him off the street, as Gina said, and at his age, he still has never drank, has never taken drugs, and he thanks the Lord that he found the pigeon. So I thought it was very interesting and heart-rending, and you may want to take a look at it too. It's a 5-minute program, so be worth your while to take a look at it. Now, I got a call yesterday while we're waiting for questions. Remember, if you have a question, just email in. A gentleman wanted to order some racing pigeons from me, and I asked him what he wanted, and he said he wanted some red ones. Well, in the discussion, I said there's red checks, there's solid reds, there's reds with splash, there's reds with white flakes. What are you looking for? And he tried to explain it to me, and as I listened to him, I pretty much figured out what he was looking for is what we call recessive red. So he emailed me a picture of the recessive red and what he wanted, and of course it was recessive red. He wanted a racing homer, and I don't have any, but I did find some for him. But I'm going to show you what recessive red is. Now this is not a racing homer. This is one of my Birmingham rollers that we sell, but that is recessive red. See how dark red it is? There's no checker to it. There's no other color in it. And if you want a recessive red, that's what it looks like. And if you've never seen one, well, that's a recessive red. They're very, very popular in a strain of pigeons called Mulemans. Mulemans is an old strain, been around literally for 50 or 60 years or probably longer. They don't come in just recessive red, but they come in red, white, black, yellow, and also they come in those colors but with some white in them. So I hope the gentleman is watching. I hope he saw that recessive red. He wanted to be sure we were talking about the same thing, and I told him watch the show and I'll show you what I think a recessive red is. Okay, next thing we're going to talk about. Have a question? Okay, we're going to be talking about some 2 or 3 different breeds, but go ahead.
Okay, we have a question from George Rivera. What drug do you recommend to treat pigeons with red mites, and can I use some products to clean the aviary?
Red mite, if we're talking about the same thing, I think we are. Generally, red mites are bloodsuckers. They do not live on the bird. They spend the evening or night on the bird, but when the sun starts to come up, they disappear. What they do is they jump off the bird and go into cracks and crevices in the floor, on the wall, or in perches, and they hide there. And then they come back out again when it starts to get dark. If you see your bird doing a little bit of a dance, the feet are going like that, you can actually hear it in the loft. that's almost always that red mite because it's biting the bird and it's irritating, so they're tapping their feet trying to get rid of the red mite. What do? Kind of simple. There's a product called
Perch oil.
good, because my mind went blank. Perch oil. And perch oil comes in a big bottle, it's a quart, with a little spout on it that allows you to squeeze the plastic bottle and you get a stream of the perch oil. And what you do is use all the cracks and crevices that you can find, including the perches, nest boxes, anywhere that they can hide, you spray that area. When the mite comes in contact with them, kills them. So I hope that answers your question. It's a product, of course, that we have. I don't think anybody else in the hobby or in the business has it. It's made by us. It was originally formulated by the world famous Dr. Pigeon, who passed away a year or so ago. But when Dr. Pigeon passed away, his name was Niard Noggle. Before he passed away, we bought all of the formulas and now make the products that Dr. Pigeon once offered, and we have his exact formula, so the product is the same. That answer the question?
The first question. The second part was, can I use some products to clean the aviary?
Whoop! My bird wanted to fly out. I laugh. We did this show, if you watched it a couple of weeks ago, we did this at Lancaster, and I brought up the judge who was judging the Jacobins, and he brought a Jacobin with us to show what he was looking for, and he had it like this, and the bird got out, flew, and if you know Jacobins, they don't fly very well. We had a high ceiling about 12 feet. The bird flew straight up, hit the ceiling, came right back down, and we picked it up. So what was the question? Oh, don't mind me, I laugh at my own thing, jokes. What was the question?
Can I use some products?
Okay.
To clean the aviary.
Yeah, there's a couple of products. One that I recommend is Oxine. It's spelled O-X-I-N-E. Water. You can mix it with water and put it in a spray, and you can spray your entire loft. Clean the floor, clean your perches, clean the nest box, and then spray the loft. You don't even have to remove the birds. If they're in there, it won't hurt them. You could actually spray the eggs, and it won't hurt that. But it will kill viruses and everything you want to try to get rid of. Now, it won't kill pests, mites, and bugs, and things with worms or things like that. But it's a disinfectant spray that really does a nice job. There's another product that's been around for a long time. It's called Nova San. It comes in quarts and gallons. It also is very, very similar. If I had to choose between the two, I'd take Oxine, but if you can buy Nova San locally at a feed store or something like that, that's certainly acceptable too. How's that?
Good.
Sometimes I even amaze myself. I know all this stuff, but I've been around for 77 years and had pigeons for over 60 years. All right. Go ahead.
Can I ask you a question?
Oh, may I?
May I ask you a question?
Yeah.
I forgot. Well, normally we wear our Foys shirt today. I forgot it was our show today and completely forgot about mine, but why didn't you wear your Foys shirt?
Well, it's a personal, and yet it's a nice little story. My mother, who passed away, I think somewhere around 20 years ago, way before she passed away, she sent me a Christmas present. And it was 30 years ago. I asked my wife about this. This shirt is a little over 30 years old. And in memory of my mother, I wear it at least once a year. And I was asking people what they thought of my shirt. I guess it's so old that it's back in style. So that's why I have this shirt. It's a memory of my mom, and I'm pretty darn proud to wear it once or twice a year. I don't wear it more because I don't want to get it dirty or wear it out or tear it. That's the story of my shirt. Thanks for asking me the question. All right, let's talk about, if you have a question, once again. Oh, also, I think this may be unusual in the hobby or in any business. I'm going to give you my home phone number. I ask you don't call after 5 o'clock Eastern time, normally between 9 and 5. You can reach me. If you have a question about pigeons, you want to buy pigeons, you should have something you've never seen before, well, give me a call. I hope you've got a pencil. I'll wait a couple of minutes. We're going to be talking about helmets here now. But my home phone number, and I don't have an answering machine, and I don't know how to fix it, but it says something about a recording or something, but don't pay any attention to it. I have caller ID, so when I get home, I look, and sometimes I have as many as 25 or 30 calls a day, but I don't mind. I'm retired from the company, and that's what I now do. So my home phone number, area code 724-359-5355. That's 724-359-5355. And don't you dare call me and ask me what my cell phone number. There are some things I just can't give out my phone number. I'd be on the phone all the time. All right, what I wanted to share with you, this is a helmet pigeon. This is the basic conformation of color. White body, colored tail, colored head. They're a German breed, been around for a long, long time. In fact, I wrote myself some notes. I don't want you to think my memory is so good that I remember everything. Okay, I gotta find it. More professionalism, right, Veronica? All right, it is a German breed. I wanted to see how long this has been around. This breed has been around since the 1800s, so it's certainly not a new breed. The bird itself is very, very gentle, so if you're looking for a bird that's friendly, gentle, doesn't mind being handled, very easy to breed in this particular format, this particular strain, but I'll talk about the other one later. So if you're looking for a good bird to breed, this is a great bird. Spread the color. It comes in yellow. This is yellow. Kind of hard to tell, but it's yellow. They also come in black, and they come in red. I think that's about it. Might be, oh, no, it might be blue, but I'm not sure. But the color would be yellow here, yellow here. Small bird. It takes a size 7 band on its leg. It's a little bit smaller than a racing pigeon. Some people put 8 on them just so they're looser, but 7 is what the National Pigeon Association talks about. The bird itself will feed its own young. There's another type of helmet that has a crest on it, just like a hood, not like a Jacobin, just a little crest tip. So that's a crested helmet. There's another one that people have been experimenting with. I do not think it's an accepted breed according to the National Pigeon Association standard, but this bird is clean-legged, as you can see, no feathers, nor feathers on the chest. What a few breeders, Tony Patty up in Massachusetts, toyed with it for a while. There was another gentleman who toyed with it, trying to produce it, and that's a booted, and I've seen pictures of them, and if you have the book Pigeons of North America, it actually shows it where there's boots. Not big muffs like you'll see similar on a Russian tumbler, but on a helmet. They're experimenting with that. So that's the helmet. If you have any questions, before the show, Gina and I were talking about birds, and it's interesting. I picked up 3 different birds with 3 different eyes. A helmet needs a pearl eye to meet the standard. And if you look very closely at it, there's like a white ring around it. What is it? It's iris? What is the thing in the eyeball? Your eyeball. The little thing. Anyways, it's circled in white. That white racing homer, which we're going to talk about in a little while, is bull-eyed. That means the eye is almost black. But if you look closely, it's not, but it looks almost black. That's called bull-eye. And then it's interesting, I have 4 birds here, and we're going to talk about 3 different eye colors in them. So the third one that I have here today is orange-eyed. And that was the roller that I showed you. It has an orange eye. It's orange around the eyeball. The word will come to me. I think it is iris. Iris, okay. So that's the helmet. Tells you a little bit about it. Oh, I was going to mention, this is called a medium face. See, the beak is sticking out, but not very much. There's also a short-faced bird. So helmets can be crested, they can be plain head, and in some cases you are going to find them short beak. The short beak bird, a little harder to raise, won't feed its own young. You need other birds to raise that. Any questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
David Bondo asked if we've heard anything about the new PMV. We still have not heard anything, still waiting on the government to allow us to release it.
No, we get that question just about every show or When I'm at shows, we get the question, and it's so frustrating. Department of Agriculture has not released it. They don't have a reason. It's passed every test that's been put in front of it, including vaccinating birds and seeing the results and all of that. As soon as we get it, we'll certainly talk about it on the show. The good thing is it's going to be American made. Right now, there are no vaccines that can be imported from out of the United States that can't come into this country, and there is no PMV vaccine. PMV is a virus. It's not treatable, but it is preventable, and the only way to prevent it is with a vaccine, with an injection. Just don't have it. Wish we did.
Other than Lesotho.
Yeah, there is a drug, not a drug, there's a product called Lesotho, which Gina was kind enough to mention. And Lesotho is for Newcastle's disease in chickens, which is what we call PMV in pigeons. It's a liquid. I talked to Dr. Bob, who's a veterinarian, and what he does is puts a couple of drops directly into the eye. But the easier way to do it is to put it in the water. It's a little tiny vial. You dump the whole vial into a gallon of water, or 2 gallons, up 1 to 2 gallons of water. Is that correct? Well,
Yes.
from memory. Okay. So the bad thing about Lesotho is it only lasts 6 weeks. So you have to do it every 6 weeks. If you can't do that or don't want to do it, just do it during the breeding season or the racing season or the show season when nothing is going on. Like for show people, our shows are basically over now. So before we put our breeders together, we would use the Lesotho. Normally we'd use PMV, but we don't have it. And then for the racing pigeon people, they should do it in the winter because their race season starts in the spring. Anything else?
Yep. Christopher, he asked, can you post some pictures of your setup of what an ideal picture of a loft would be? He's trying to do a loft and he's having a hard time building one.
You don't want to see my lofts. I have 4 lofts. And every time I build a loft, 5 lofts? 5 lofts. Every time I had a loft, well, first of all, I buy my lofts from Home Depot. They build them in one day. They come with a truck. They don't bring the building. They actually build it in your yard wherever you want. And then when they're done, they'll put the windows in and the doors in. They put the vents on the roof for me. And they put storm door on it for me. But then I do the rest of it inside or hire somebody local to build the aviary and build the sections. There's a book, I wrote it, 5 or 6 years ago, I guess, a while ago. Took me 5 years to get it done, but it's called Lofts of North America. And even though I wrote it, it is the definitive book on building pigeon lofts. So it's not inexpensive, but it'll show you lofts from all over the United States. There's also lofts from Canada, and if I remember right, we had a loft from Hawaii. But there are plans to build a loft, and it shows you all kinds of different lofts. I remember there was one where somebody had spent a lot of money to build a gym set for the kids, and the kids got older, and he made that gym set into a pigeon loft. It's very interesting to see it. And there's also one they call the Dovecote, where a gentleman built his loft in a circle with bricks. And at the top of it, it's not terribly high, but at the top of it, there are little holes where the doves can go in and come out. So that was one of the interesting ones too. There are lofts that look like lean-tos, very inexpensively built, and then they go all the way to the Taj Mahal of pigeon lofts. One might be 100 feet long. So if you're interested, there's also a little book by Heinzman. What's it? Lofts? What's the name of it?
Building lofts legally?
Yeah. There's 3 books, and there's another one, that little pamphlet that we print. Loft. It's just a loft, right? Not a loft. But anyway, if you ask for it, Gina's going to look it up. So I hope that answers your question, because the main thing is, and if you want to call me, I gave out my home phone number, 724-359-5355. I almost gave you my cell phone number. Oh. But anyways, I'd be more than happy to answer any of your questions. but the style of your loft and what you do with your loft is very dependent on the breed that you're selling, that you're raising. Fantails are different than runts, and runts are different than rollers, rollers are different than racing pigeons. So a lot depends on what you want to raise. I'm sorry I couldn't answer your question, but like I said, give me a call or look at those 3 books on our website, and there's a lot of good ideas. Because if you don't, you're going to make some mistakes that you're going to pay for down the road or forever. You'll wish you had known or thought about it before. So it's better to invest less than $100 in design versus building a loft and really making some mistakes. If you visit my loft, you might see on one wall 4 or 5 different styles of perches. I have 3 or 4 different styles of nest boxes. The reason for that is whenever we have products or add products, I always test them in my own lofts. So I put up all different kinds of perches, nest boxes. Some of my floors are bare, some of my floors have floor covering. I've never put the grills down, but they're a very popular item. We sell different types of grills that you can actually walk on and the droppings go down through. So showing you my lofts might just confuse you because I don't have the same thing in any loft. But you can, as I say, go to the books. Do we have another question? No. Okay. I wanted to talk a little bit about Russian tumblers. Okay. Now, I just told that customer or that person who asked the question about what style of loft, and I was telling you a lot depends on your breed. I keep homers and rollers, but I have 2 or 3 other breeds, and this Russian tumbler is in with my rollers. So I don't have special perches for the bird, nor do I have special anything. The loft is really set up for my rollers or homers. This bird has muffs. Now, this is not a good example of the way the muffs should look because I don't have the proper flooring for them. So the feathers got broken off over the last couple of weeks. But this bird was bred by a fellow by the name of Bob Perkins. Bob's up in Massachusetts. He's what's called a master breeder, some of the best in the world, Russian tumblers. So if you're interested, you want to call me. My phone number is 724-359-5355. I can put you in touch with Bob Perkins, and he'd be happy to answer your questions. But they're a gorgeous bird. They were, I don't remember, I wrote it down somewhere, but the Russian tumbler actually does come from Russia originally. But I was reading a book about them a little bit earlier, and find out that the United States is the home of the Russian tumbler now. There are more Russian tumbler breeders in the United States than anywhere else in the world. They're very popular pigeon if you have them, and I like it because it's so darn docile. And it's basically, if you had the right setup, it's a floor pigeon, so you don't want to mess these feathers up. But the perches are short, they rub, and I know that this pair now building a nest. I have some nest boxes with nest rolls in them at floor level, right on the floor. And this pair of birds took to that floor level nest box, are in the process of breeding, and I'm sure they'll have young within the next 2 weeks. So if you have any questions about a Russian tumbler, this is it. It's now an American breed, a beautiful bird, white here, the rest is a body. And look at that, look at the wing, the coloring in the wing. I was at the Grand National in Amarillo, Texas last week, and I was talking to Bob Perkins about these, and I haven't been interested in adding another breed for years and years. I fell in love with this. Look at that head. I just like it. This is the crown we were talking about on a helmet. Well, this is what it looks like, and it also has a little tuft here on the nose, and the feathers come down partway over its beak. You'll see that in English trumpeters, but this is much smaller. This is called a rose. So if you have a question, Bob Perkins, give me a call. I'm not going to give you my number again. Give me a call, and I'll tell you how to contact Bob if you're interested in the breed. Okay? You know, whenever you go to a meeting, they always tell you to shut your darn cell phone off. Let me get my modern cell phone out of my pocket. Bet you haven't seen this modern phone before. Look at that. Huh? Hold on. All right, shut it off. All right. This bird,
Ay, ay, ay.
did it poop?
No.
Oh. Tell you we're not professionals here. This is a racing homer. And this has a bull eye. I don't know whether you can see it, but it's black. And if you are a racing pigeon enthusiast, most people that race birds won't take a bull eye. Don't know why, but they believe it's not a good sign to have a blue eye. This is the hen. And the reason I bought it is I wanted to talk about white racing pigeons as related to the bird release business. As you probably know, there are weddings, funerals, grand openings where they release a number of doves. And a lot of people call me and they want to buy some doves. I stock about 200 white birds, white homers, and I have to explain to them what you're talking about is truly not a dove. The reason they're called doves, this is a racing homer, but this is what we use we do the funeral release business. The average American thinks of a pigeon as a flying rat. They really have no respect for the pigeon at all. So if we were told them we're in the white pigeon business, business would not be very good. We tell, not just us, in fact, there's an association called the White Dove Association, and it in itself shows pictures of these. They're white racing homers. If you're looking for a way to make some extra cash, it's a huge, I shouldn't say that, it's growing unbelievably fast. If you're interested in, if you like pigeons, or if you don't like pigeons, looking for a business that could be run part-time, it's something you can do from home. If you have a little experience with pigeons, that's fine. But if you want to know more about the business, I'd be more to share that with you. Also, there is a book that's available from Foys and other pigeon distributors. Coincidentally, just a coincidence, I wrote it. It's called White Pigeons, the Color of Money. And the reason I wrote that is they are white pigeons and you can make a decent income. In fact, I have a good friend who is retiring. He did retire the first of this year. His gross income from just the white dove release business was in excess of $100,000 a year. And now he's retired and given the business sold the business to his two sons. So there's actually, like any other small business, the income grows based on the amount of time you want to put into it. So that is a white dove. But the other thing I wanted to mention in relation to the business, we have a young lady, that's Veronica, in our office that builds websites. And I have a call every once in a while from a fellow that says, I'm in the white dove release business, and it's not going very well. I don't know what's going on. And I asked him some things, and one of the things I said, where are you doing your advertising? And he might say, well, I've put ads in newspapers, I've gone to wedding shows, and the business just isn't growing. Well, I had to learn the hard way. I'm still not very good with computers, but I can tell you, if you're not on the internet with the white dove release business, you're going to be hurting. So Veronica builds websites for people. You can build your own, however you want to do it. But if you want more information, just call Foys and ask for Veronica, and she'll give you an idea of what it might cost. It's not a lot of money based on what you want to do. But in today's world, people get on the internet and look for dove release businesses, and if you're not there, they're going to find somebody else. So if you are interested in the business, give me a call. Questions at all?
Yeah, how often should you worm your pigeons?
Twice a year, preferably 1 month before breeding season, so this might be the perfect time to do it, and also after breeding season or after race season. I like to do it twice a year, so it's winter and basically summer. There are a lot of different products that work, but if you want to do it and want to do it right, you should use a product strictly for worms. 3-in-1 is good because it has a wormer in it and it treats a couple of other things, but there's a product called Worm Out Gel, which is a pump bottle. It gets all the worms that you can possibly get. Like some people use Ivomec or Piperazine or Wazine. Those products are not good for all of the worms. There are hair worms, there are tapeworms, there are small round worms, there are large round worms. We talked about it a while ago. There's a worm that actually lives in the eyeball, and so there's a lot of different worms. There's avio worm, is that the name of it?
Mm-hmm.
Avio worm is a good product also, as is worm out gel. So in answer to your question, you might have noticed a simple question that could have been answered in 5 seconds. Yeah, twice a year. I've gone on for 2 or 3 minutes about it, but that's me. Any other questions?
No, but I just wanted to point out the avio worm is you put it on the feed, not in the water.
Okay.
And a lot of people don't realize that before they buy it.
Good point. But I've mentioned this on this show before. The Europeans, across the world, whether it's Australia or China, almost all put medicines on the feed. It is thought that it's a much more effective way of doing it. So we sell a number of products that go on the feed. It's a simple thing. Most of the time it tells you to put X amount on a kilogram. Yeah, kilogram. It's 2.2 pounds. So, and it's not a science. You get a scoop, fill it with feed, figure out how much it weighs, and then the next time if it weighs 1.9 pounds or 2.2 pounds, it doesn't matter. All you do is get a bucket, pour that two pounds of so feed, or it can be a bowl, pour it into it, put your medicine, I use my hands, I don't wear gloves, but I just use my hand, mix it all up, or if you have a lot of birds and you have to make 10 pounds, it's pretty easy to figure out, and then the birds will eat it without any problem, and it's a much more effective way, generally speaking, and the Europeans have been doing pigeons a lot longer than us in America, and if they say it's better to put it on the feed, that's a better way to do it, in my opinion, although putting it in the water is certainly a lot easier. Another question?
Yes.
Excuse me. I do appreciate it. When we first started this show, we were so concerned that we wouldn't get any questions. It was just amazing. And we've grown. I think I've shared this with you before. The first show we did, we had roughly 2,000 people watching it. And Veronica tracks this. And the second show we did was over 4,000 people. So appreciate it. And the reason the show is growing, and we found that out kind of the hard way, the third show we did it from the Lancaster show, which a lot of people watched, but it wasn't like before because we weren't talking about diseases and we couldn't take phone calls or texts or emails, right? So it was only a little over 1,000 people watching. Do you have any idea, Veronica, how many are watching it right now? Is there a way to tell that? No, okay, I didn't know. So by my point being, the show is better because of you, not because of us, because of you. And the questions that you ask are similar to questions that hundreds of other people are asking, maybe don't have the nerve to email us or whatever, so we thank you. Question?
Have you ever heard about warming your birds on a full moon? Is that an old wives' tale?
Never heard of it, but I don't discount it. Most of us that are fishermen know, and I think hunting applies too, but in fishing, you wait for the full moon because that fish are going to be biting like crazy on a full moon. And I've done a lot of fishing, and it's amazing. You go out there on a full moon, half moon, you'll catch anything. Full moon, the fish are biting. So I've never heard about it. Maybe if you're listening or watching, and you've heard about it or tried it, email us, let us know, and I'll spread the word. But I've never heard the benefits of the full moon for sure. That it? Mm-hmm. Let me see, what else do I have? Let's talk about this. Remember the Birmingham roller? This is the one with the orange eye. I don't know whether you can see that or not, but there's an orange ring around that eye, and this is the recessive red. What I wanted to talk about is I sell rollers and I sell racing homers, and I get a lot of questions. A lot of times what they say to me is, I want a Birmingham roller. Do you have Birmingham rollers? Yes, I do. They say, well, do you have Pensums? Well, Mr. Pensum, his name was Bill Pensum, was born in Birmingham, England, and came to the United States and introduced the popularity of rollers. And when he came from Birmingham. At first they were called Birmingham rollers. As time went by and Bill Pensum settled into the United States, and over a number of years, he produced his own strain. That important word is strain. So he called his strain Pensum rollers. But remember, he's from Birmingham, England. So a Birmingham roller, a Pensum roller, same thing. There are some deep spinners. There's some that ruby rollers. There's all different kinds of names for these birds, these rollers. They're all Birmingham rollers with a breakdown of strains, much like I mentioned the Muleman. The Muleman is a racing homer. A Jansen is a racing homer. A Muleman is a racing homer. They're strains, they're not breeds. So this is a Birmingham roller. A dainty little bird, about the same size as that helmet that I showed you. In fact, I'm going to show you the helmet again, just in case people are late. But if you are looking for Mulemans, you lift the wing, all of these feathers have to be red all the way through. The tail, basically a red tail. So if you have any questions on, if somebody says Birminghams or Pensums or whatever, you know they're all Birmingham rollers in the United States. I wanted to show you the helmet. Again, you can see it's basically the same size, but let's compare them in size. You can see, I hope you can see, it's a little harder to see, stick your head up there. So lengthwise, you can see they're just about exactly the same size. Very, very easy to roll, to raise. And if you've got kids that are interested in pigeons, they can have a lot of fun with these without a lot of work. If you have children that want to get into pigeons and you get them into racing homers, it becomes, I think after a while, more work than it's worth to a kid. Because you have to train every day, you have to go to the club on Saturday. A lot of times the results aren't out until Sunday, and if you do it 7 days a week, there's the exception, but the rule is, you know darn well they're not going to have a lot of fun. It's going to be work to them. With a roller, there's nothing you have to do. You buy a roller, it rolls. It's just way up in the air, and it starts, when it wants to come down, it starts to roll down, 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 and just before it hits the ground, at least we hope so, it will stop and then go back up again. But there are the fly downs, the roll downs, where occasionally the bird is such a good roller it hits the ground and sometimes they're injured or killed, but that does not happen very often. And people ask me, well, how do they do that? Well, once again, it's bred into them after years and years and years of breeding rollers. They're trained to the point where when you fly them, they start to roll in flocks, not one at a time, but they'll all come down as a group, and it's really, the kids just love watching it. And they have competitions all over the United States where a judge will go to your loft if you're in the club, and you'll put your birds up, so to speak, put the whole group up into the air and watch them come down, and the judge will score them based on how they flew down together. In fact, talking about rollers, there are tumblers also. Tumblers are a little different. They're bred more for show than for performance, but the tumbler tumbles differently. But okay, we're back. Well, sorry, technical glitch. I was starting to talk about parlor rollers, parlor tumblers. It's so inbred to them, they can't fly. They roll. And if you go to a major show, you'll see these birds in competition. They need well-cut lawn, although it can be done on pavement, but that's kind of rough. On grass, and the contestant puts his bird down, and they're scored on how straight they roll, boom, 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 all the way. And then they're scored on how far they roll. To my knowledge, I haven't looked lately, the world's record is a little over 200 feet. Without stopping to roll. Boom, 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 and straight. And that's how the contest is won. How straight they roll and how far they roll. So very interesting what man can do, just like with dogs or cats or anything else. You keep breeding for what you want and eventually you'll get it. Although I'm not enthused with parlor rollers because I don't know, I just like to see them roll in the air. I don't like to see them roll on the floor, but they do. Do we have another question?
Yes.
Okay.
Harry from Canada wants to know which vitamins are needed for breeding season in the water or in the feed.
I can tell you what I use. I use something called Ultra Pro, ULTRAPRO. The reason I use it, and I use it just about every day of the week. If I'm going to skip a day, it's usually Sunday if I want to give them a break or for whatever reason. That's just my personal opinion, but you can do it 7 days a week. Goes in the drinking water. I fed my birds today. They all got it today. The reason I use Ultra Pro is, in my opinion, it's one of the best vitamins on the market. And also, it combines the probiotic, because if you've watched this show before, you know that I recommend probiotics, especially if you're going to medicate your birds, worm them in any way. You always give a probiotic afterward. But that doesn't mean you can't use your Ultra Pro more often, and you'll be amazed at what it'll do with the feathers, making a smooth, soft feather. But that's not overnight, that's not in a month or two. It's doing it on a regular basis year-round. So, in answer to your question, it's Ultra Pro. We talked about a product I wanted to mention that it's called NutriDots. Now, if you call and order it today, we're out of it. It becomes so popular. It's not an antibiotic, but you put it in the drinking water, and it's you've all heard of boxes for birds. If you haven't, it's a company that makes shipping boxes for birds, and it's owned by Mike and Sherry Owens. Well, Mike was telling me, and then it was printed in one of the magazines, that he was hit with a virus, a form of a strain of the adenovirus. And when it hit him, he lost over 1,000 pigeons. He was desperate. He tried everything. I spoke to him. Other vets spoke to him. Couldn't figure it out. And I'm not sure how he heard about it, but he heard about drops, N-U-T-R-A, drops. And he used it on his birds, and he says it was amazing. The problem basically stopped. Almost, boom, it stopped. He stopped losing birds. Some that already headed badly he lost, but it turned everything around. So if you're looking for something and concerned about a virus or going through a virus, you may want to try that product. I talked about it at Amarillo, Texas last week. I was at the Grand National for the National Pigeon Association, and everybody was talking about it. So it's the in product right now. If you have a virus, I'm suggesting people try it based on what Mike Owens told me. Do we have a question?
No, but for the NutriDrops, they'll be in next week. They were shipped today.
Okay, shipped today, be here next week. We've only got about 5 or so minutes. If you have a question, I'll still interrupt. But I wanted to talk about something. We do have a question? Okay, go ahead.
Manny from Alaska.
Hi, Manny. I think I've talked to him before. Go ahead, Manny.
He breeds giant runts. They're big birds. Should he adjust the dose in accordance to the body weight?
Generally speaking, yes. I would go 1.5 times, not 2, but 1.5 times, because it is a huge bird. I have a friend who raised them for years and years, and that's basically what he did. You're not going to increase the vitamins and things like that, but on medication, because of the size of the bird, I know, like with humans, I weigh 150 when I'm soaking wet, but if somebody weighs 300, it makes sense to increase their dosage too. Another question? I wanted to talk about the National Pigeon Association and a group called the Legacy Fund Trust. I'm chairman, and what we've done, it's been going on for 11 years. We're raising money to help the future of the hobby. We all know that the hobby basically is not growing, and a lot of it is because youth is not being brought into it. So we're in hopes of raising enough money to help sponsor youth groups, Boy Scouts, 4-H, farmers across America, that kind of thing, or adults who have junior members in a club. We're going to be able to help them. The only way we can do it is if you help us out. So if you're a mind to make a small contribution, we sure would appreciate it, whether it's $1, $5, $10. If you donate $100, you will be forever mentioned in the National Pigeon Association magazine called The Quarterly. It'll be there twice a year forever, and your name will also be on the website. It's called Gold Band level. So if you'd like to make a contribution, You can, I'm chairman, you can give me a call, I'll give you the information. If you have a mind, you can make a check out to the NPA, National Pigeon Association, -LFT, Legacy Fund Trust. It can be mailed to Foys in any amount, but if it's $100 or more, be sure you include your address and your phone number and what breed of birds you sell. Excuse me, you raise. I sell pigeons, you raise pigeons. So if you send it in, we'd be more than happy. I'll send you a thank you card, and if it's $100 or more, you get a nice certificate. Suitable for framing. I've heard that so many times. If you go up to 500, it's a framed certificate that we send almost immediately to you. The other point I would make is that your money is never ever spent. It's pooled with all the other contributions that we get in, and all of the earned income from those investments are made available yearly.
The interest.
Yeah, no, earned income is the word.
Oh.
Okay, because it's not just interest, it's okay. We have some money in mutual funds, and those are dividends. So rather than thinking of just the interest rates, it's earned income. Sorry about that.
That's
But I
okay.
appreciate your stepping up. You're getting a lot better. You'll interrupt me first.
I do
If
have
you,
a question when you're done.
yeah, if you folks first remember, Gina was a little bashful, but she's getting a lot better. The first show she barely spoke, but she didn't smile, but she's smiling now. All right, but I wanted to point out your money is never ever spent. Only the income we earn is paid out for projects that will make our hobby better and make it last. Go ahead.
You were talking about the $100 and the $500. If they say send $5 now or $5 every month, it goes up to $100. Once they hit $100, they still.
Yeah. Oh, I'm so glad she's here. I should have mentioned that because I forget to tell anybody that. But I do have different people who send me $10 or $20 a month every month. And when it totals 100 or more, there are different levels: $100, $500, $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, and $50,000. And when you send those contributions, when they reach a level, then I correct the listing in the magazine so that that's reflected and you're mentioned as that particular level. Any questions or any? Okay. The show itself is brought to you by Foys Pigeon Supplies. Would you give them the phone number because my voice is failing?
724-843-6889.
Website?
FoysPigeonSupplies.com.
Okay. And if you do not have our catalog, this is a sample of it. And if you don't have one, they're completely free. We'll be glad to send you one. Or if you're going to order something, tell us to include one. If you want more than one to share with your friends, we'd be more than happy to do that. Because the only way we can get the catalogs out is if you ask for them. So we hope you'll do that. It's an all-color catalog. List just about anything you can think of. And the catalog is also on the website, which is
www.foyspigeonsupplies.com.
all right. We have a minute to go, and I don't know what the heck to talk about. Have you any ideas?
No, I just want to say one
Okay.
thing. For the catalog, there is an index in the back. So if you're looking for something, make sure you look in the index.
The reason she mentions that, I fought an index for a number of years, but the last two catalogs have had indexes because I always thought the index would take 10 or 12 pages. We had so many items, but Veronica, who produces the catalog, was able to shrink it down, and I think it's 4 pages. So yeah, there is an index in the back. And on the website, Veronica, you can just type in the item number or the product number in the search block, and the product that you want is there. And if you ever have an idea for a new product or something you'd like to see made, we'd be glad to talk to you. And I know we're almost done, but custom. We'll make anything in wood custom, whether it's a basket, whether it's a nest bowl, a nest box, anything like that. If you have custom sizes, we'd be glad to give you a quote on making those. Gina, say goodbye.
Have a great weekend.
Thanks an awful lot for listening. We enjoy doing it. We'll see you in 2 weeks.